Hey everybody, got a video here for you today. Now I have talked a lot about Orion on my channel, and I think anybody that does videos on ancient history has to mention Orion. It was significant in symbolism and spiritual tales and monuments and alignments from cultures all the way through history. But this is something that I looked into maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, and I really didn't know what to say about it. But all I've learned in the meantime, I think I can talk safely about this with some degree of certainty. But this is Andrew Collins' website. I think he does some excellent work, that though I do not believe everything he says or agree with everything he says, as with every author that I read. But this piece of mammoth tusk was found in a cave in Germany coming from 32,000 years ago, incredibly. And work on this has, people have theorized that this is a depiction of Orion in the night sky. And I'm just going to read a little here. It says, Dr. Michael Rappenglück, an expert in ancient astronomies with the University of Munich, believes this tiny panel shows an abstract image of the Orion constellation. The figure's slim waist and a sword, which hangs between the figure's slightly parted legs, one shorter than the other, appears to confirm this conclusion. Rappenglück proposes that the carved image is a depiction of Orion as the sky hunter. And when I first looked at that, I thought, well, that's a pretty big assumption to make, but all I've learned in the meantime, I think he is absolutely correct. I'd say I'm 95% sure this is what we have here. And one of the main things that I think makes this a correct theory is the left foot here being above the right foot. That is clear, and that is clearly what we have in the constellation of Orion. That would make the left hip higher, and the belt, if he was wearing a belt, it would be tilted. And of course, that is what we have with the Orion constellation. Now, many Native American cultures and other cultures through history viewed the stars a little differently than we see them today. This is a common depiction of Orion, but this comes from Ojibwe art, and this is how they saw the constellation of Orion, including stars of other constellations here, but it's always a man with outstretched arms, slightly parted legs, left foot above the right foot, and that's exactly what we have here. Man, outstretched arms, left foot slightly above the right foot. And I also find it interesting on here, this Native American art, we have the dog right next to the figure of Orion, obviously signifying Canis Major. And where else do we have the three belt stars of Orion with a dog right nearby? Is that what they intended on the Giza Plateau many, many thousands of years ago, before the standard model of history says the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx was built? I just thought I would mention that. But I think here we have a depiction of Orion coming from 32,000 years ago. Now the other side of this, it has notches carved into it. And it says Rappenglück goes further, suggesting that the 84 notches mark the total number of days the Orion star Betelgeuse remained visible in the sky around 32,000 years ago. If Rappenglück is correct, we have in this panel not only the oldest known representations of the human form, but also the first star chart in human history. And there's just a tiny bit of discrepancy how many notches are actually carved into this. This is the BBC website, and I will leave this link below. It says the tablet may also be a pregnancy calendar. There are 86 notches on the tablet, a number that has two special meanings. First, it is the number of days that must be subtracted from a year to equal the average number of days of human gestation. This is no coincidence, says Dr. Rappenglück, and that would associate it with creation, and that is exactly what other cultures represent or have Orion representing. So I think this is very interesting here. This figure with the outstretched arms. Native people or ancient cultures were always looking to the sky for information. We have this depiction from the boundary waters of Minnesota. This is a figure with outstretched arms, and this is representing Orion. Interestingly enough, we have the dog figure right nearby, just like in the native Ojibwe art. People in Minnesota, when they visit the Boundary Waters, they don't know what they're seeing here. These boats don't represent ancient people traveling across this ancient riverway on the Canadian border. This represents a soul's journey to the afterlife. We have 7 dashes above this figure of Orion representing the Pleiades. We have the cross up here representing Cygnus. This is an ancient sky chart, but I just thought I would mention that. It fits with this Native American artwork coming from the Ojibwe. This mammoth tusk, having this figure of the outstretched arms, I believe this is the oldest depiction of Orion that we have coming from history. It comes from 32,000 years ago. Hope you thought this was interesting. You have a nice day.